And I was very pleased to learn at the end of the last talk that it is our own Ramaji and Indiraji from religion and prayer committee were kind of instrumental in getting the series started by requesting and persuading Uma Devi ji to start this lecture. I'm very pleased with it. So Uma Devi is the disciple of Swami Paramananda Bharati. He is a well-known Vedantin in South India, and we were fortunate to receive him in Lansing, Michigan for a two-day visit. And I had the good opportunity to have lunch with him and share some of his wisdom. Very wonderful man, very learned man. And Uma Devi ji has started her lectures on Dharma. There is nothing more fundamental than Dharma in Hindus. So it is important that we know the fundamentals of Dharma. She is going from the roots of Vedantic Dharma or Sanatana Dharma, and she is going to expand on that in today's lecture. Welcome, Uma Devi.
Again, thank you.
Can you also mute phones?
Yeah, please. Anybody who has not muted the phones, please do mute them. We'll greatly appreciate that.
We will start with our prayer. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram. I bow at the feet of the great Shankara, the repository of sacred scriptures and an abode of immense compassion, who accomplishes the good of the world. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Salutations again and again to Lord Shiva in the form of Sri Shankaracharya and Lord Vishnu in the form of Vedavyasa, who were the authors of the Brahma Sutra and its Bhashya respectively. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutation to the lineage starting with Sadashiva, Adi Shankara in the middle, and continuing up to my immediate teacher. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. There is no difference between the Guru, Self and God. Obeisance to Lord Dakshinamurti, who is the personification of the Supreme Self that permeates through space. So, today we embark on our second session. I will briefly summarize what we did in the last session. Some people were not there too, so maybe it will help us to connect it. So we started by first defining what is Dharma. That is how the word Dharma has come. It comes from the Sanskrit root word Dri, which means to hold, to preserve or to maintain. So Dharma is something very precious which we need to maintain and preserve. That is why this whole attempt at reminding ourselves of what is Dharma. It is also one of the four components of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And we said that the word Dharma comes first of all. It's very important because whether it is Artha, that is wealth or income that we earn, or whether it is Kama, desires, they have to be tempered by Dharma. So Dharma is very crucial. Bhagavan himself says if Dharma is maintained, then one is having, Artha or Kama. I am that. So, with this we had gone into the discussion about who are the Devatas. Why? Because we started by defining what is inertia and what is the free will or animate free will. He said that an inert object is one which needs an external force to move it. Or rather, even the force is mechanical, but it has to be, behind it has to be a free will, independent free will. Now, thus we looked into the word inert, force, and animate free will. And then we concluded that behind every activity seen in inert nature, remember, nature is inert. Unfortunately, or the earliest Siddhanta called Sankhya, before the Vedanta came, particularly whether it is earlier Vedanta or the later one, the Sankhya's held that Prakriti is independent and it is able to function. If it is independent, how can it function on its own? So we concluded that behind every activity seen in the inert nature lies a soul with free will, and this is God. Again, we tried to understand concept or not concept, who are these devatas in our Puranas and in our Vedas. For example, air, Vayu, it is inert, but then it moves. How? It is moving from one point to another. Scientifically, we try to explain it is because of the difference in pressure which makes it move. But the ultimate cause for this movement has to be an intelligence principle, and that is why we call it Vayu Devata, who gives the movement possibility to an inert thing like air to be able to move. So also Prithvi, that is our earth, is very inert. However, earth is also rotating on its own axis, it is revolving around the sun. How? And that intelligence principle behind this is, which is giving it movement, is called Prithvi Devata or Vasundhara. We also try to understand who these devatas are. These are positions. Those who have done, when we study about rebirth, as we said earlier, will understand this more. Those who have done immense punya have earned positions in each manvantara. The manvantara is a period of 300 million years. Throughout that period, these devatas have these positions, like our prime minister or president are for 5 years. They are for 300 million human years. Equal period of 300 million years is a period of dissolution, pralaya. There is nothing in that time, only water after each manvantara. Now this devatas are given these positions. In the Vedas we have Indra, Yama, Varuna Devata, like that. But in Puranas we have still many more devatas. They are not different, but they are furthermore connected with stories to make it easier to understand. They have been given. They are the same principles, different intelligent forces behind any activity. Now, having understood that, we had looked into the question of puja. Why we should do puja? We have to worship devatas, we say. Why? Because they are very powerful people, and if we worship the devatas, they will give us benefits. And that is why people continue to pray. And there are ways of doing puja, just as we, entertain our guest at home or anybody we like, we give them an asana, seat to sit, we give them, scent, etc. to be happy, make them feel happy that the ambience should be good. All that kind of thing we do to people whom we like. In the same way, we worship God, we invite God to take a seat here, we worship them, we give them water, we give them a bath, we say abhishekam, we dress them up, we give them chandanam, kumkumam, all that kind of thing. So this is the procedure of puja. We have pujas which have 64 upacharas. These are all called upacharas. There can be 16 upacharas, 8 upacharas. If you don't have time, at least that much, you need to go and start your work. So they do fulfill our desires. But then how does the God principle work? I did some puja. Does God come there? He may not come physically because our devatas are also having only subtle bodies, sukshma sharira, they are not visible. They are paroksha priya, they like to be invisible. But they work, and how do they work? As we said, they are the intelligence principle. When we do puja and properly, what happens is we get the right thoughts at the right moment. What to do? The suggestion, I had given an example last week about how a lady, who was pregnant at the last stage, she had a headache. Doctors couldn't do anything much. And somebody suggested, why don't you pray to such and such a God? And what is the way? How did? Only thing is, suddenly they got an idea, let's go to this doctor. And there when they went, the doctor said, just open your mouth, and they found a decayed tooth. This just to give an example that how, our prayer and puja to devatas do help us in getting the right thoughts. It is through that they work. Because by doing this puja, there is chitta shuddhi. That is, our mind and buddhi becomes pure. At that time we can receive things. That is why we pray. These were some of the things we had said, and very interesting questions also came up here. That it was the end. It came, so maybe up in the after the session today, in the end, we will take it up. That why do we say one should be God fearing? Just to be little jovial. It's far better to fear God than fear anybody else. If you fear God, you don't have to fear anything else in this world. That's the story. Then Dr. Venkateshan had also raised some interesting question. I don't say I've given a full answer. We will keep ruminating about it. That is, when we do pujas, particularly Satyanarayana Katha and all, it is said, if you don't do this, Bhagavan will punish you. Why punishment? See, parents are so loving with their children. Why do they keep them in discipline? If you do this, this will happen. I won't give you this, It's something like that child, but doesn't mean he is not loving. He is karunamaya. But he teaches us a lesson. If you don't do this, you'll have this. This is how I see it so far, but if there is an improvement in my answer to you, I'll take that up. So that brings us to our today's topic, which is Brahman. So far we talked about devatas and God with form. But actually, for example, all these devatas, they have to be kept together, Vayu devata, they cannot function independently. There must be a system in which they are connected with each other, And that primordial cause for Brahman, the supreme God, who keeps them all together and makes them work systematically for the universe to function. There's order in this universe, there's no chaos. How is this order coming? Because of this Brahman. That is why our Upanishad says, for fear of him, the wind blows. For fear of him, the sun rises. Sun is also Devata, wind is also Devata. For fear of him, Agni and Indra work. For the same reason, the fifth Devata, Mrityu, Yamadevata, is also busy, says the Upanishad. So it is just like ministers working under the control of the king and the officials working under the control of ministers. This supreme God is called Brahman, which means, the word means Brihat, incomparably big. The Brahman is big, bigger than this, nothing is there. However, there is another term we are all familiar, we should not confuse, that is Brahma. Brahma Ji is a Devata who is in charge of the Srishti, creation. He is shown with the four heads, beard, because of wisdom is Vayuti Saraswati Devi. Like that, the Puranas picturize these things. So that Brahma is different, that is a male god. Here, Brahman is neuter gender, it. It we are saying, because it is nirguna, there is no form, there is no guna. Now, this Brahman, we understand from the Vedas, is the primordial cause of this universe. What we call Mula Karanam. We will be understanding this term Karanam in little more detail a few minutes later now. That brings us to question, could there be more than one cause for this universe? There's only one cause for this universe, is what our Vedas tell us, and that is this Brahman. For this, we take an example, which is a very famous example in our Upanishad, particularly the Chandogya Upanishad, where the example of the pot and the pot maker and clay is given. So, what does the pot maker do? We say in Hindi, Kumar. And the pot maker is getting clay from somewhere, getting somebody to knead it by putting water and all, and somebody else, he guides them to use the wheel and axle to produce a pot. There are three different people doing this work. The potter knows all the three jobs, but he relegates it to different people. So what happens? The clay is brought by somebody, second person is kneading it, third person is using the wheel and axle to produce the pot. And that's how the pot has come. So now see this, keep this in mind, we'll little later come to the technical part of it. But this is, actually very nice story in Chandogya Upanishad. Shvetaketu goes to his father Aruni and asks, Father, actually he was sent to the Gurukula and he came back after 14 years and he was a little haughty and had a bigger ego that I've studied. So father wanted to temper him because Vidya Vinaya Sampane, you should be having Vinayam with whatever you know. So what father did, he said, my son, did your teacher teach you, knowing what, you get to know everything. That one thing, knowing which you know everything, get to know everything. Son was worried more because if he says he doesn't know, his father will immediately put him back again in Gurukula. Gurukula is not very easy. You have to go for Bhiksha, bring food for the Guru also and all that kind of thing. So he said, Father, probably Guru also doesn't know, otherwise he would have told me. You please tell me about it. And that's how this pot and example is given by Aruni to his son Shvetaketu. That now we'll see more that in depth the meaning of that. But before going into that, let us also discuss this question. Some people may have a doubt, we have in our Puranas Vishnu, Ishvara, Shiva, Brahma, all that kind of different names or gods. Who are they? Actually, in different Puranas, the same Brahman, Supreme Brahman, is portrayed as Shiva or Vishnu or Ishvara. And some people find fault, Vaishnava Puranas will belittle Shiva, Shaiva Puranas will belittle Vishnu. Now, that is not really the purpose of the Puranas. Actually, Ishvara or Shiva or Vishnu, they are all Brahman only. They have no birth or death. But we have Devatas who are of a different category, that is Vayu Devata and all. They do have birth and death because they have got the position because of some punya karma in their previous birth that they have done. We have taken the example of Mahabali and I know how 100 Ashwamedha Yagas if you have done, you are eligible to become a Indra. So, like that for each post of God, there are different karmas prescribed in the Shastras for that. Now, so question arises, but why people, say my God is bigger? These are all fanaticism. Actually, that's not what the idea of the Vedas is. What Veda is trying to do is, formless Brahman, if you give some form of stories, and the shape, it's easier for people to meditate on. We will look into this a little more. You see, in Bhagavad Gita, we have this shloka in the 12th adhyaya, Klesho adhikarastesham, avyakta asakta chetasam, avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhir abhavi. It is very difficult to, meditate or ruminate on formless Brahman, avyakta. So it is little more easy to contemplate in a story form of the God, ordinary people. So, Shastra itself tells us what kind of different, even you have Kali, if you are meditating on Shiva, he is in the cremation ground because he is connected with dissolution. Creation is done by the Brahmaji has said he has got 4 heads and his wife is Saraswati. Similarly, you have Vishnu, his wife is Lakshmi, if you want to, because he is the person who is preserving this, maintaining this universe. So like that, picturization is done for us to facilitate us to meditate on that. If we go on doing this for quite some time, because ultimately they are Brahman, we will be, our chitta will be Shuddha, as I said, our mind and intellect will become more pure to be able to concentrate on even formless God, that is Brahman. And each one can have Ishta Devata to their liking. Somebody likes Vishnu, somebody likes you. Only one should not be fanatic that this alone is fanatic. And that brings us to the same question of this technical thing that I said, the pot and clay example. We will go a little more into detail, because to understand Brahman, we said Brahman is the primordial cause. Cause we call it Karana. Now this Karana, what it is? There are three types of things that they are involved in anything that you produce. Pot, for example. The potter is called the Nimitta Karana. In English we say efficient cause. The clay is the material cause, Upadana Karana. And the instruments, the wheel and axle, is the instrumental cause or Sahakari Karana. So Nimitta Karana, Upadana Karana, the stuff by which it is made, and the Sahakari Karana. By Jove, wonderful and surprising thing is, Brahman is all the three in one. Here we have a potter, we have clay, we have instruments. But look at Brahman. The Veda tells us that Brahman is at once the Nimitta Karana, the Upadana Karana, and also the Sahakari Karana. He is the instruments, he is the stuff by which the world is made, and he is the person who is making it. Is it possible? We have an example in our daily life. Spider. What does the spider do? How does it create its web? The spider has got, its saliva becomes the Upadana Karana, material by which it is. But it's of the spider only. Its intelligence becomes the Nimitta Karana. And its body parts, which are used for making that web, becomes the instrumental cause. So there can be a case where all the three are there in one. It's not impossible even in nature. So Brahman is, as we said, the Nimitta Karana, Upadana Karana, that is the stuff by which this world is made, and also the instrumental cause by which this universe has come into existence. Now that is why what happens is, actually just as pot is only clay, pot is not different from clay. Let us also understand one more technical term. When we say clay, it is Upadana Karana of the pot, and the pot is called the Karya. What is it? The cause and effect. The cause is the Karana, effect is the Karya. Potter is the Karana, or the clay is the Karana, material cause. Efficient cause is the potter. But let us take the material cause here. The clay is the Karana, and what is the Karya? The pot or jug or whatever is made out of clay. In the same way, but is the pot different from clay? Pot is clay only, but clay is different from pot. From this we come to one conclusion, which is a very important principle, that Karya is not different from Karana. Effect is not different from cause, but cause is different from effect. That is, the Karana is different from Karya. So, what is the conclusion? Brahman is the Karana, Jagat or world, universe is the Karya. This universe is not different from Brahman. Nothing here is different from Brahman. But Brahman is different from everything. So everything is Brahman when we say, but do we see it like that? Ordinarily what we see, Each and every human being, trees, separate. How are they one? That is why we say, our Swamiji, as earlier also was mentioned, he was a scientist in his Purvashrama, and he gives very interesting examples from science. And here it goes to H2O and water, ice, and uh, uh, water, ice, and steam, isn't it? All the three are H2O only. So we will come to that. What is happening? When we see water, H2O is camouflaged, it's hidden. Scientists know it is H2O. Ordinarily we say water. Or if you see gas or steam or even ice, you don't, ordinarily everybody will not say this is H2O, but the scientists will say it is H2O. So there is something which is covering up or hiding, concealing or camouflaging this H2O. In the same way, there is something which is hiding or camouflaging the universe, the Brahman, and shows it to us as shapes and names and forms that we see in the world. Now, the Shastra does one thing. It defines this Brahman on the basis of the features. 3 features are given, that Brahman is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Please say it with me. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Now this Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam are technical terms. You'll have to understand that. See, we have to, as I said, this universe we have to understand this is Brahman itself. The Jagat is Brahman. But it is hidden. How to remove this covering which is hiding Brahman from this universe? For this, Shastra uses 3 sieves, challi, 3 filters. One is Satyam, the second filter is Jnanam, the third filter is Ananta. What is it? Let us understand that a little. What is this universe that we see? It is constantly changing. And the definition of the words asatya is changing. Satya is that which doesn't change. You have to remember this carefully. Satya is that which doesn't change. Brahman doesn't change at all. H2O doesn't change at all in any circumstance. But the karya or effect, the jagat or the water and different shapes it is taking, H2O, all these are changing. Now, if we are able to separate the changing portion from it, we will get one glimpse of Brahman, which is Satya. How does we're not physically do it. We have to mentally do this process. What is the process? We have to filter out the asatyatva, the changefulness of this world. If we remove that, then we are able to see that which is unchanging. I can also give you the example of, it's not very correct, but yet I am bringing it because later I am going to talk more in detail about it, but I think it may also help at this point. Take our body. This body is changing. Jara, with you, all these things is happening in this body. But nothing is happening to the Atma, the soul within it. How do we understand? I am not this body. I am not this mind also. Because in deep sleep, the mind is also not there, but I am there. I will come to this a little more in detail soon. But I am just giving this an example, what this filtering means, how to remove the asatyatva of the universe. Whatever is changing, these names and forms and shapes are changing. But the substance doesn't change. H2O doesn't change. There is water, there is ice. If you put in lower temperature, it becomes ice. If it is higher temperature, very high above 100, there is steam. When it is medium temperature, it is remaining as water. But it's all H2O. Whenever, even as water, it is H2O. Even as ice, it is H2O. Even as steam, it is H2O. And the 2 gases are there, hydrogen, and there are 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen. So, Still, it is the same. In the same way, everything here is Brahman. And as we progress spiritually, what we have to be able to realize is, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. These are four Mahavakyas are there. Everything here is Brahman. Like that, the four Mahavakyas tell us that only. So, this is the ultimate, that is what is called moksha. You remember we said Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. What is this moksha? Liberation. What is this liberation? Knowledge of who I am or what this Jagat is. That it is all Brahman. And it is only through the Jagat we can understand what Brahman is. That is another very paradoxical situation. Though Jagat is not different from Brahman, Brahman is different from Jagat, yet through Jagat only we can understand what is Brahman. By filtering out asatyatva and the jadatva, the second one which we come to, and the saantatva, limitedness, then we are able to remove. This is all applicable to the body. It is asatya, changing. It is jada. Body is jada. I am not jada, I am atma. Isn't it? Similarly, the body has limitation. But Brahman has none of these three, and to understand that, the first seed, the first filter that we are using is Satyatva. So Brahman is Satya and Jagat is Asatya. Now, there is a confusion. We were going to discuss with Dr. Reddy about it. There is a confusion today in Vedanta which our Swamiji was very particular to bring out. And that confusion is actually, people have misunderstood is what Swamiji says. And on his authority I am speaking because I've heard from him, I'm sharing it with you. Today everybody started saying Jagat is Mithya. What is the difference between Asatya and Mithya we should understand? You see, what is Mithya also we have to understand. Before that, Shankaracharya ji has given two adjectives to this Jagat. One, Asatya, another, Mithya. So what is Asatya? We have discussed that it is changing. What is changing is that because it's a quotation of Yed Rupena Yed Nischitam Tad Rupam Na Vyabhicharati Tad Satyam. If there is one form and it never changes, that is Brahman. Yed Rupena Yed Nischitam Tad Rupam Vyabhicharat Tad Andritam. So he said Andritam here means changing thing. That is, if it is changed, if the form is changing, then it is Asatya. So what is this Mithya? Which Jagat did we talk of as Mithya? The Jagat that we see in front of us here, you, I, is Asatya. It is changing, all of us understand that. It is changing constantly. But Mithya means that something which doesn't exist but appears as though it is there. And the famous example is of mirage. What do we say? What is mirage? You are going in under hot sun on a road and far off you see some water. Actually there is no water there. But to everyone it appears like water. But those who know it is mirage, when you go near it, there is no water. Jagat is not like that. The Jagat that we are seeing, if even this mirage, for example, if you know it's a natural phenomenon, that law will be there, everybody will see it like this. But if you think there is water, that is Mithya. Because there is no water, it doesn't exist. Is the world like that? This Jagat, we are doing transaction, we are seeing everything, and yes, it is changing. But what is the Mithya that Shankaracharya ji was talking about? We will come to that. Before that, one more thing we should understand. That now, this asatya is a very objective thing. all of us take it to be asatya, no? We know this is changing. But mithya is very subjective. Those who do not know will say something is mithya like this. That should not happen. Now, which jagat is then mithya? In jnani, one who has got the knowledge of what Brahman is, realizes this nature of this universe, for him this universe is asatya. For an ajnani, it is mithya. Why? The ajnani does not see this world as Brahman. The jnani sees everything here as Brahman, is God. The ajnani sees here my son, my daughter, this house, that tree, separately. Even if they saw separately, no problem. They don't see in it any Brahman at all. They don't see it as Brahman. It is Brahman, but as I said, it is covered up. So, unless and until you sift out this asatyatva, right now we are talking of asatyatva, jadatva and antatva, that till you separate it out, filter it out, you will not be able to identify it as Brahman. But take the very famous example, all of us are familiar in Srimad Bhagavatam, of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlada. See, Hiranyakashipu was an ajnani. Prahlada was a jnani. Prahlada was constantly chanting the name of Bhagavan Vishnu. So, for Prahlada, the pillar, his father asked, "Is your Vishnu there in this pillar?" He said, "Yes." And you know the story that Bhagavan did appear there because he is there and killed also this Hiranyakashipu. The point is, for Hiranyakashipu there was no Vishnu in the pillar. That Jagat, the Jagat where there is no Vishnu or God or Brahman, such a Jagat is Mithya. And this is the Jagat most of us commonly have in our buddhi. So Shastra helps us to come out of this ajnana, wrong knowledge of this world, and is wanting to take us to the point that this Jagat is Brahman itself. So don't see it as mithya, but it is definitely a satya. I have heard some sannyasis, you know what happened in this word Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya is not there in the Bhashya of Shankaracharya's, it's not Shankaracharya's Vakya. It has come in one Prakarana Grantha called Vedanta Grindima. And many of the Prakarana Granthas, you know, have not always conveyed what Shankaracharya says in his Bhashya properly, is the contention our Swamiji has been making. It can be proved by various Vakya. Because Shankaracharya cannot be schizophrenic that he says one thing here, says anything in another place. So it can all be proved. These are all greater intellectual discussions. But you know, sometimes some sannyasis will tell me, only when I know that Jagat is Mithya, I can reject the world and go. That's not true. Even by understanding that this Jagat is Asatya, you can still have Vairagya because it's all changing. I want to hold on to something which is not changing. I want to hold on to Brahman. So this is one aspect about this whole question of this Satya being a filter to remove the changefulness. As I said, in the thought process, when you meditate, you say, no, particularly when it comes to us, we are not this body. If I was the body, you know, so even the dream world is mithya. Why? It is not like the wakeful state. In the wakeful state, what happens? I can do vyavahara, you know, transaction is possible. But in dream, it is all vasana. You know, something I have seen, I remember, and that comes in the dream. That Jagat is not a dream in that sense. In Mandukya Upanishad, in different places, it is said everything is dream. We have to understand in which context it is said. I am not going into the details of that. But it suffices in our common understanding, we do know this world is not dream in the sense of being mithya. Now that brings us to the next filter. We said Jnanam is another filter to filter out jadatva, inertness. We know all objects in this world, including our body, is jada. It is inert. So, this inertness, how do I remove it? How do I filter out the inertness? How did I filter out changefulness or asatyatva? By bringing in satyatva. By satya, Brahman is satya, that is the lakshana or feature of Brahman, it's satya. And by that, to understand it, what do? We remove the asatyatva, the changefulness, and say this cannot be the inherent nature of Brahman. The inherent nature, what we say, swarupa. One is rupa, form, what we see. Swarupa is the intrinsic nature of that. It's not changing. So, in Swarupa, in the intrinsic nature of Brahman is Satyatva. And the Asatyatva is camouflaging or hiding this intrinsic nature of Brahman. Similarly, the Jadatva is hiding the intrinsic nature of Brahman, which is Jnanam. This is a little more intricate to follow. You'll have to follow logically the step by step what we are going to see. Now you see, there is a question that is being raised. If you say Jnanam is the filter, if you bring that, if you use that filter, the Jadatva can be removed from the world. A person is raising a question. Right now you were saying Brahman is Satyam. That is, Brahman is not changing. And now you are saying this Brahman is becoming Jadat, because you are saying that this world is Brahman and you are saying this world is Jada. Are you getting the question? It's important. I will repeat. You can raise a question that you just now said that Brahman is Satyam, it is not changing. That is one feature. Now you bring the Jnanam feature and then you say the Jadatvam of the Jagat has to be removed by Brahman. That means Brahman is becoming Jada, no? Then it is changing. Earlier it was Satya. The Satya means it was changing, not changing, it was not inert and now it is becoming inert. Or it was earlier this and now it is changing. So, what is the answer? It's a good question. The answer is this arises because we are afraid that Jadam is opposite of Jnana. The Karya is Jada and the Karana is Jnana, Chaitanya. The question actually boils down to that. What is it? Again come to the H2O example, Swamiji takes that. Now, H2O remains H2O when it is water, it becomes ice, solid, or it becomes steam, gas. And under all circumstances, H2O is not changing. The form is changing. Water, ice, and steam. So, not only that, sometimes the Karya and Karana may have opposite features also, or things in it. For example, you know that hydrogen is combustible, it can burn. And what does oxygen do? It can support the burning mode. Here, both are combined as water. But water is an opposite property. What is it? Water, if you put a burning stick in the water, it extinguishes it. So it is not necessary that the Karya or the effect will have the same features as the cause, but yet that can be the cause of that effect, as H2O is the cause of the three forms, water, ice and steam. So this another question also in the similar way, that something else is, coming in conflict with this. Now this question will make what by Jnana will be clear. It will become more clear. The question is like this. You said the Brahman is creator, sustainer, and the one who dissolves the universe. Oh, so when he is creating, he is thinking of creating. When he is sustaining, he is thinking of sustaining. When he is dissolving, he is thinking of dissolving the world. So his Jnanam, one Jnanam while doing creation, one Jnanam while doing sustenance, another Jnanam then dissolving. His Jnanam is changing, no? So that is asatya. So how can Brahman be Satya as well as Jnanam? Are you getting the question? Anybody any problem? So again a similar question is there. And this gives us an occasion to understand what is meant by Jnanam. You see, there is something called the process of knowing, which we call Jnana Kriya. You know, how I understand something. But the Jnanam that we are talking of Brahman, is not Jnana Kriya. It is the ability to know. That is, it is potentially Jnanam. It is just knowledge, absolute knowledge. It is not something learning, ability to know, Jnatrutva. In Sanskrit we say Jnatrutva, the ability to know. So, Jnanam as Jnana Kriya is not what Brahman is doing when he is doing creation and all that, but it is the Jnatritva, that is the, or we will in English say awareness. I am deliberately avoiding using the word conscious because our Swamiji has been avoiding because there are a lot of interpretation of conscience and all that. So awareness we all understand. What is this awareness? You will understand it with a little more of questions coming into it. Now, if I say Jnanam is awareness, the question raised would be, you know, in our Upanishads and all, it is all always raising questions and answers. That's why the style is there. So a question can be raised that, you know, this Jnanam, or this awareness, when you say it is awareness, it's of the mind. Is awareness of the mind? What is awareness? I am aware when I say, I also say I am aware of my mind. So there is something other than the mind which is aware of the mind, of the body, of everything. So it is not the mind. Just as the eye cannot see itself, the mind cannot see itself, cannot be its observer. There has to be something else through which mind is also observing. So the other person says, no, look here, you very conveniently taken the example of the eye, that eye cannot see itself. But see skin, you know that you are touching it, it is being touched, both you feel, you know it is being touched and the feeling of touch also you got. Now we say, no, that's a wrong example you are giving. Why? If somebody got paralysis, that particular person's hand is not paralyzed, another hand is paralyzed, suppose. Then he touches this paralyzed portion by the hand. He knows he is touching, but he has no sense of feeling of touch. So, for each of this, there has to be awareness other than that particular instrument. Like mind is an instrument in our body. Just like body, mind is another more subtle. But it is not awareness. That is why we go to the example of deep sleep. In deep sleep, there is no mind. Now the question is, how do you prove there is no mind in deep sleep? We ourselves, when we get up, what do we say? I slept very well, I didn't know anything. Knowing is a function of mind. So I know there was no mind at that time. But who knew at that time that there was no mind? That is the awareness, Jnatrutva. This awareness, this Jnatritva, is the Jnanam that we are talking of about Brahman's Jnanam. It is this filter through which we remove Jadatva. It is different from the mind. It is Jnatritva, which is Jnanam that is taken here as the filter for removing the Jadatva. Now, a person says, then it is hopeless because this Jnanam does nothing except perceiving everything. What is its use? Well, you think that activity is done only through mind, and you think that Brahman has no mind. Therefore, how can Brahman be active? How can it create? How can it sustain? How can it destroy? What does Brahman do? You see, Brahman, we gave the example of the potter, no? He's supreme. He doesn't do anything. He relegates it to different Devata. And the Devata who is to do creation is our Chaturmukha Brahmaji. And Chaturmukha Brahmaji's intelligence through which Brahman works. So the question arises, my intelligence is also the same as intelligence of Brahmaji, Chaturmukha Brahma. Yes, everything, when we study the Srishti Priya, we give a chart, we'll see all that permeates everyone, down to the animals, human beings, everybody's mind and intelligence is the same intelligence of Chaturmukha Brahma. Oh, then that means like Chaturmukha Brahma, I can also create this world. No. Why? You see, a nail cutter is also made out of steel. Axe is also made out of steel. Axe has more power. It can cut a tree. Nail cutter can only cut my nail. The same way, Jivatma or we are Alpakya. We have small, we can build a house or we can create some nice painting and all these things we can do. Brahmaji is very powerful. We said, no, Devatas are very powerful. He can create this whole universe. But ultimately, who is behind all this? Yeah, that formless. Remember, even in our deep sleep, that formless awareness is the one which is responsible for all the activities we do throughout the day in our wakeful state. You have to go, even psychologists will tell you. So, this brings us to the conclusion of this third filter, the second filter. This time, I think 10 minutes more.
8 minutes.
Yeah. But I think I'll complete today rather than give time for questions, which we'll keep for another. Then I'll be able to complete 1 minute. The third sieve or the filter is Anantam. You see, everything here in this universe is Sa-Anta. It has got an Anta. It has got a limitedness. Our body is also limited. But Brahman is unlimited. We said, no, it's everywhere. How to understand this? In Lalita Sahasranamam, you hear, no? Desha Kala Aparichinnam. Not limited by space or time. About space, we said that Brahman is there everywhere. Again, Prahlada's example. Oh, you are praying to this Vishnu? Is he there in this pillar? Hiranyakashipu asked the father, Ajnani. And what does Prahlad? Of course, yes. And Vishnu comes. That means, fossil is there. That is why our Shastra asks us to pray to worship a fossil, anything, shaligram or tree, leaves or trees, everything we worship. Everything is Brahman. I am Brahman, you are Brahman, everything is Brahman. This whole universe is Brahman. So, the third sieve, the Santam, with that what do? We see that Brahman is pervading everything. Such a Brahman cannot be limited. It is not limited anywhere. But this Jagat is limited. So space-wise it is not limited. Time-wise, during creation it is there, during sustenance it is there, during dissolution it is there. Just as H2O is there in water, in ice, and continuously at every point, it is in the same form. So there is no limitation of time, space or time in Brahman, and this is where it is separated from Jagat with the third sieve. Final point that is made is, okay, you say this whole universe is pervaded by Brahman. What about something above in the sky and all? Akasha. That is vacuum. Akasha is not vacuum. Science has proved, Newton has himself said that it is not vacuum. So, it has got this, the tanmatra of the Akasha is sound, shabda. You know how in the radio you get the waves, sound waves, how it is through electromagnetic waves, it is brought to us through the radio, we can hear. The same way, Akasha is the medium for the sound to be transmitted. And that is Brahman itself. All these Panjabhutas are Brahman, it's about Devata. So, therefore, even that is wrong thinking that the Akasha. So, Brahman pervades everything in every way. And so that is, I'll quickly summarize what we've said. We have today tried to understand the features of Brahman, and we said the universe is Brahman itself, but because it is camouflaged by asatyatva, jadatva and sa-antatva. If you use the sieve of Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, we can transcend, we can remove these things from the universe and we will understand it is Brahman only. Just as much as we can remove these changefulness and jadatva of our body and understand and the Atma, and that is Brahman. So there is Atma within, but that is Brahman. It's not only here. In the deep sleep, what is happening is common to everybody. But what is happening in dream is different. In the dream, what are we saying? I have to ask you what your dream is. But if you said I slept well, do I have to ask you how you slept well? Everybody knows the same experience because at that time, Shastra says, we are one with Brahman. We are in our Swarupa. So the aim of our whole Shastra is to take us to this through the Devata, and how we will have a session on how to realize this Brahman. It's a very big thing, it's not one simple thing, but certain things, some ideas can be exchanged on this. So I think I will conclude. There are some more 5 minutes. So in that case, some questions can be at least noted down by me. If not, I can answer. I can at least answer to you personally and the next session we have. Do you have any questions?
When you bring in Maya, and where Maya stands.
So sorry. Yes, you see, there also our Swamiji from Shankara Bhashya brings out the way Maya is understood is, if you take it as an illusion or Anirvachaniya is explained in a very funny way. But Maya is Brahman's Shakti, energy. As we said that Brahman will not function separately, independently. You need some other medium, just as Chaturmukha Brahma is there. When we study the Srishti Kriya, we will understand more. This Chaturmukha Brahma, before, we have Avyakrita, from that we have Avyakta coming. Between this, we have Ishvara. And Ishvara is Saguna Brahman, that is Brahman plus Maya. Is called Ishvara. Ishvara is one who is doing Shasana, who is controlling this universe. And he can control only with his Shakti, which is Maya. So Maya is actually something very, very noble. And people are confusing Maya with Avidya. Avidya is the Jivatma's misunderstanding, wrong understanding or no understanding. But Maya is Ishvara's Shakti. And if we club them as one, we will not make any progress in our spiritual life. We have to first understand where is Ajnana in me? Where am I going wrong? Why am I not able to see everything as Brahman? There's something wrong in me which makes me not see everything as Brahman. What is that? If I understand, Maya will be helpful. I'll give one small story. Sri Ramakrishna has mentioned this story. You see, once two friends were there. You can give any name. I'm forgetting the name Ramakrishna ji gives. Their friends went to find out Maya. But somebody said, they went to a friend's house. The dog started barking. However much they will call out the name of the friend, the dog will start barking in such a loud noise that he will not hear it. So, the Mali, the gardener was there. He said, take a stone and throw on the door. The noise, then this, he'll be able to hear. Or, you cannot do, the moment the friend will come, the dog will become silent. Maya is something like that. If you go on fighting with Maya, but if we submit to Ishvara, Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratya, Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Yesham Taranti. They can only cross over Maya by completely surrendering to Ishvara. And Namam Drishtigato Muda, those who are, not following me, they will definitely be troubled by Maya. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan tells about these various categories of, bhaktas that I have. One who is a jnani, he will not be troubled by Maya. Maya will be subservient because he and Brahman are not different. He has realized he is Brahman. Take the example of Sri Ramakrishna, take the example of Ramana Maharshi, that is where we are.
Instead,
What's
remove
the-
these. Yeah, go ahead.
What's the difference between Maya and Mithya?
Maya and Mithya, you see, Mithya we said that it is something which doesn't exist, it looks like that. Mirage.
What-
Maya is not like that. It is wherever God is there, Maya will be there. But the person who has realized himself as that God itself, that is Brahman itself, Maya will be also there, the energy there also.
But that's Mithya also.
What is Mithya?
Wherever the shapes or anything appear.
See, we didn't say shapes are Mithya, I didn't say. Many people say. Because we said they are asatya, they are changing, but they exist. But their existence is from something which is intrinsically always there, that is Brahman. If you understand it like that, the problem will not come. The moment we say that shapes and all don't exist, that's not what we said. We have said throughout shapes and forms are asatya. They are changing. Not that they are not existing. That was exactly the purport of the whole thing. If they were illusion, it is not. Then nothing can be. We can't even talk,
Then what's Maya?
That is why, you see, we will have to, if you are really particular, I'll give you a full session on Maya. I can also circulate to you a few pages where our Swamiji has explained what is Maya. You see, Maya can be seen from the point of view of Jagat or can be seen from the point of view of Ishvara. When you see from the point of Ishvara, what I told you. It is Parinami Nitya, but people say it is Anitya. No, it is Nitya when we take it conditioned on Ishvara. Wherever Ishvara is there, it is there. But devoid of Ishvara, it is not there. It is Parinami Nitya, we say. But Maya is, when you see it from the point of Jagat, you will get a little confused whether it belongs to Ishvara or it belongs to Jagat. That is why we say it is Anirvachani. Tattvam, Anyatvam, to understand what is Tattva and what is not Tattva, that is what is called Anirvachaniya. But what have people started using the word Anirvachaniya to mean? They say Anirvachaniya, it cannot be expressed or not told. That's not the meaning which Shankaracharya's this quotation says. It is that which helps you to see that whether it is Tattva or Atattva. So the Tattva is Brahman. This Jagat, there is a Tattva in it, but as I said, it is camouflaged. Some people may say the camouflage is due to Maya. This camouflage. Actually, because we are ignorant of ourselves, this camouflage appears to us. And then we say Maya is the one which is. But the root cause in ourselves, what we have to tackle or deal with is avidya, our lack of knowledge of who we are. That's how we see it.
Maya then directly contradicts Anantam
How?
because there is no time, no space, no shape. In Maya,
Yeah.
you do see this, you do feel this.
Yes, to that extent it is there. No? That is why I said Parinami Nitya.
But then its Brahman is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Anantam. There is no shape, no space, no time.
See, we can see it like this, Brahman, Jagat, between this Maya. So, the Brahman becomes Ishvara with his Shakti, who converts or makes this Brahman look like this Jagat. That doesn't mean Jagat's shape and all are not existing. But in reality, it would not have come into existence if it was not Brahman.
Then my question comes, what is the difference between Maya and Mithya?
That is
You
exactly
are
why I
perceiving the
was...
Maya as Mithya.
Sorry?
You are perceiving the Maya
I
as
didn't.
Mithya.
I am not perceiving. I have been constantly saying I don't perceive shapes as Mithya at all. They are asatya, they are changing. Actually, it should help you to understand what you are saying. If you take it as asatya, that is where the whole confusion, in fact, this confusion was the cause of Ramanujaji and Madhvaji to leave Advaita Vedanta. Because the way it was by the time told to people, Jagat Mithya, they said no, this is Ishvara, they said. Actually, if they, sorry to say, our Swamiji used to say, if they had really read in original Bhashya, they may not have had this problem. Many Prakarana Granthas are conveying different ideas than what Shankara has said. This is the contention of Swamiji there. So if you see the Bhashya, even for your question, give me a little time, I will work it out for you, and then you can, further.
I think we have to stop there.
I
I think we have to stop there.
I can after this.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you very much for a very wonderful talk. And you touched on many things which are confusing by their very
It's
nature.
always better to be confused than only we learn the truth.
But by their very nature, but you tried your very best in terms of defining things and you did a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you.